Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns have been one of the more crazy stories of this NFL season, and finally people are talking about this run that the Browns are having. What a season it's been. They've been one of the most banged up teams in the NFL, losing Deshaun Watson for the season, losing their backup quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the season, pieces on their offensive line, Nick Chubb, valuable defenders. I mean, they have gone through it all, and Kevin Stefanski and this team have stayed strong. They acquired Joe Flacco off of his couch, and this dude has absolutely lit it up for this team. Since starting in week 13, no quarterback in the NFL has thrown for more yards and touchdowns than Joe Flacco. He is 3-1 as this team starter, and he's put them in a legit shot to potentially make a deep postseason run. Now, we saw something very similar a few years ago when the Philadelphia Eagles lost Carson Wentz for the season. Nick Foles came in late, led them on a historic postseason run, beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and ultimately led them to winning a ring. Now we're seeing something kind of similar happen here from the Browns. Watson goes down, and Flacco has done an unbelievable job since taking over, beating a very solid Jacksonville team at home, Chicago, who's been hot of late. He led a great comeback in the fourth quarter, and then they absolutely beat down on Houston on the road this past week. The Browns are playing very inspired football right now, and I think they have a legitimate shot to make a run in the postseason. Now, I know Flacco's absolutely balling out, and he's making this offense so much more explosive, maybe even better than when we saw Deshaun this year, but on the defensive side of the ball, the Browns have been absolutely killing it as well. They might have the best defense in the entire league. They're giving up the fewest yards per game, the fewest passing yards per game, top 10 fewest rushing yards per game, and the 12th fewest points per game. They're led by their defensive player of the year candidate in Myles Garrett. Zadarius Smith on the other side, an acquisition the Browns made this offseason, has also been phenomenal. Juan Thornhill is expected to return soon, and this defense has really done a good job of shutting down some of the higher flying offenses in the league. You look at what they did in week 1. Now, granted, Joe Burrow is still injured, but they held this Cincinnati team to 3 points. They held this high flying San Francisco 49ers offense to only 17 points and ultimately pulled out the victory there. And looking at these final 2 weeks for the Browns, they play the Jets at home on Thursday in a short week, which they should easily win, and then they go on the road at Cincinnati in the final week of the season, which could be tougher. It's a divisional opponent. Cincinnati's still trying to sneak into the playoffs, and Jake Browning has looked good, but this defense has been giving good quarterbacks fits, and I think the Browns will ultimately win this game as well. But looking at this playoff picture in the AFC, and I've talked about it a lot this year, but it's wide open at this point. Now, the Ravens just had their statement win against the 49ers. They're number 1 in the AFC, and they are definitely the team to beat. Miami's also been good this season, but they've shown that if you're physical with them and you can pressure Tua, they are a beatable team. And I think with Cleveland's physicality, how they like to run the ball, they have a great defensive line. I think they have a good shot against Miami. Now, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes and this offense have not looked sharp this year. The drop problems, Mahomes was frustrated last week at some play calling. They're not firing on all cylinders, and it looks like they're having a Super Bowl slump. Jacksonville's lost 4 straight games. Now, obviously, there's no Joe Burrow. He's out for the rest of the season. No Aaron Rodgers and no Justin Herbert, 3 elite quarterbacks that you expected at the beginning of the year to be in the playoff conversation. What Joe Flacco has done since taking over as the starter has been incredible. He makes this Broncos offense very high flying. Amari Cooper went absolutely nuclear against the Houston Texans. Joe Flacco is making a legitimate case to not necessarily be the starting quarterback of the Browns next year, but of a team who needs a gunslinger and has good pieces around him. Flacco could absolutely be a starting quarterback next year, and I think he's really going to help the Browns make a deep postseason run. Obviously, the Browns gave up more than $250 million, multiple first-round draft picks for Deshaun Watson, and we haven't seen this dynamic player that he once was. So how funny would it be if Flacco led this Broncos team on a deep playoff run and showed how good this team could truly be with a good quarterback? I think the Browns are one of the most dangerous and underrated teams in the AFC. If Joe Flacco can continue to go out there and ball out, nobody's going to want to see the Browns come playoff time. And I think we're going to see them bounce a very good team in the playoffs this season. I'm Caden Kubler, and that's my take.